The time is 10:03, 10:04. I want to thank the commission for their attendance and staff for their attendance, and all those in the audience, thank you for your attendance as well. We just have 2 items on our agenda. The first one, Mr. Carrier, you want to lead the charge on that one?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, thank you. This is in relation to the Low-Income Housing Water Assistance Program. If you recall, back in November of 21, the city signed on as a vendor in partnership with Bluegrass Community Action to provide low-income water assistance for utility bills. And back then, an agreement was struck. This is just a modification to that agreement. Periodically, those agreements are modified. And in relation to where we are right now, it's currently, in particular, item 1, numbers 5 and 6 of the previous agreement. So bringing this back to the commission to have it signed yet again and taken back to Bluegrass Community Action.
Is there a motion from the commission? I want to ask you some more questions you want to ask before a motion? No.
I was going to say, what are the differences, Marshall?
Okay. So on the old agreement, items 5 and 6 under number 1 says, item 5 says the landlord shall not increase the rent of a recipient household due to receipt of this assistance. So assuming that's probably covered under some other Fair Housing Act or law somehow, they modified that to read as maintain services for at least 30 days after receiving LIH WAP payment for restoration of services. So it's a completely new sentence. And then item number 6 is maintain services for at least 90 days after receiving the LIWAP payment for restoration of services in the old agreement. But in the new agreement, it just says in case of multiple services apply, LIWAP benefit to water and or wastewater charges only. So it's essentially 2 different sentences in 2 different locations. But the major change is the maintain services from 90 to 30 days is one of the key elements.
All right, thank you.
And again, these changes are brought to us via Bluegrass Community Action on behalf of LIWAP. So,
And if they don't maintain service 90 days after receiving this assistance, what happens?
well, under the new agreement, it would be maintained for 30 days. So, for example, right now, your bills are, everybody's bills are due on the 10th. We actually give people until the end of that same month to come in and pay their bills before we go into discussions about cutoffs. So we already maintain 30-plus days.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
No.
Okay. Well, again, this will be a great program for folks in our community who are eligible for it because it will reduce their payment of the water bills. Okay? So the chair would entertain a motion to accept this resolution.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-08-0401.
Thank you, ma'am.
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you all. And then the second item on our agenda is planning and zoning comprehensive plan discussion. Michaela? Yeah, Mr. Black, okay. Good move. Before you get started, though, I just almost got run over or arrested for jaywalking in Danville this morning. I don't know what was going on. I'm scared to death, though. And the culprit just walked in the room, the last one to walk in the room. The culprit was the last one to walk in the room.
Oh, Ms. Balkeen.
He's looking
Now
around.
we're in trouble. Ms. Balkeen's here.
Yep.
I was trying to go pick up Kevin Carter, so I didn't go to the corner. Next thing I know, I had lights flashing all around and stuff. So I understand. Okay, Mr. Black, go to sidebar. Yeah, you play it.
Yeah, I think it is.
To thank the commission for having me today. I'd like to start off by saying that there's really two things I'd like to get out of this meeting in front of you guys today. The first is to hopefully make sure you guys are more comfortable with what a comprehensive plan is, as well as some of the steps going forward. We're not going to, lay out the whole process today. There's a community meeting that's scheduled for the August 24th, a big community kickoff. At that meeting is where we're going to anticipate revealing a big public engagement schedule, as well as details going forward. But before we get into that process and really get going, give an opportunity for the commission to ask me questions, I'll give a brief, another overview of the comprehensive plan. And then sort of the second half of what I have is get an opportunity to listen to the commission, give you guys an opportunity. An important part of any comprehensive plan update is to hear from the community what the community really is and help give you guys an opportunity to share your thoughts. As a plan writer, in case you haven't had the opportunity to meet, I'm Joe Black. I work for the Bluegrass Ad, and I'm going to be writing the plan. I can sit in front of a computer, and I can look up any sort of statistics about Danville or Boyle County I want to, but there's a certain type of qualitative data that is important to include that really shares what the community is, that makes this the Danville plan instead of, I'd like to say, the Joe Black plan about what Danville should be. And this is a great opportunity to, I think, a starting point. We're not going to solve every issue today, and we're not going to try to, but just to get some information from the commission on Danville itself. So I'm going to start off on what a comprehensive plan
Joe,
is.
hold on for a minute. Are you ladies having a hard time hearing him?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's see if they'll turn that mic up some for you. And hopefully the blowers will cut off pretty soon. I thought y'all just want to get close to your commission.
No. All right.
All right.
Try now.
See how that way. You push it
Is-
up some too, yeah.
Is this better? Is better?
That went the wrong way.
That's enough out of you, Joe.
Turn that one off.
Thank you. Is this better?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So first thing I want to say when we're starting talking about the comp plan is I want to tell you everyone here to take a deep breath. It's going to be a long process. We're not going to solve anything today. It's going to be many months. I think we're looking about a 10-month time frame. So now is the opportunity. Let's all just take a deep breath, try and get on the same page for the process going forward. There's also going to be times I want to say where it's going to feel like we're moving very fast with the plan, but there's also going to be times where it's going to feel like we're probably moving very slow with the plan. What we're going to try to do at first is try to gather as much information that take the very broad view, and then as we go through the process, trying to get more specific with the information going through to create, ultimately at the end, was a very specific document to help guide growth. But again, the key word there is guide. And so I think that leads into a lot of the discussions we're trying to get into today. For those members who attended the one-day retreat we had, where we sort of left off at the process, I think is a good place to start off, where a lot of the elected officials and people in the room from all the local governments were challenged on what their assumptions were about the community. And before we get into the weeds and start asking you guys questions, I think what makes that so important is as we look at the previous plan, and I'm sure many of you guys can attest that you have roots in Danville, is you sort of have this image of what Danville is in your minds already. And while that's great, and I'm here to learn about that, the comprehensive plan is a forward-looking document in general. And so if we start this planning process with this sort of locked-in idea of what Danville is and use that to sort of guide our viewpoint on what Danville should be, instead of trying to just take a break, reflect, let's take the 9,000 view, very broad, of what could Danville be. You know, this is the opportunity to come up with the wild ideas and sort of think about some of the things that we could see happen in the community. But the most important thing to define is what makes the community, so we don't lose sight of who we are throughout the process. And that would sort of lead me to the first question I'll throw out to the commission. And so I want to say, if you can take a minute to think, this isn't going to be a rush, but if you could think of one word that you would say defines Danville, whether it be the people, the culture, and important sites or whatever, what would be the one thing, one word you use to describe Danville?
One word. I was going to say forward thinking, but that's two words. Unless you hyphenate it.
I'll count it. We've got one for forward thinking.
Community.
Community. Okay. Do you care to expand on that?
I mean, I think our community, everybody feels a sense of ownership in Danville. They love Danville. They want to make it better. They're always looking for ways to make it better.
Thank you.
Are we going around the circle?
We can go around the circle. We can go
I
one.
used to see downtown, is that,
What do you mean by that?
I value the historical value, the beauty of our downtown area.
I get a lot of outsiders in my business that move here, and they're like, it's like Hallmark.
Like Hallmark. Okay.
Yeah, and there's community. Both, yeah.
I say progressive. I get some comments from people that live outside the county, and they look at Danville as being very progressive. And so it's a compliment.
Do you think, is that similar to your forward-thinking comment, Commissioner?
Yes.
I think the word small comes to mind as well.
Why do you say that?
Because it's smaller than most urban areas, but it's larger than some other places in our county. We think they're really small, but I think a town or city our size is considered small as well. That's a place where if you really work at it, you get to know all of the citizens in the city.
This may go with community, but involved, I think Danville has more people who get involved in things than any place I've heard of, whether, volunteerism or whatever this. We'll have a good crowd for this, I hope, so.
So I got a follow-up question. What are sort of the values? We've heard a lot of things about community. So what are some of the values of the community? Think about it that way. How would you describe it to an outsider?
I think there's a value of excellence, to be honest with you, whether it's how the community looks or even with the school systems. I've just always felt like there was an attitude of how can this be just the best,
Okay.
I think our history, some see that as old, some see that as, but I think in general, the community values our history because there is so much history in this area that
I'm going to ask you to follow up. So when you say history, are you talking about the community history in terms of, families that, people have grown up together, whether it be the families in small
well,
town?
there's that, but then there's also Constitution Square, Parable Battlefield, you've got the McDowell House, you've got all of the things here that there's a lot of history and there's value in that. And also there's a lot of families that have grown up here and their children are coming back and so both, I guess.
Thank you.
Diversity, diversified community.
What do you mean by that? Can you explain a little more?
Well, when I think about diversity, people immediately go to race. When I think about diversity, it's been race, age, social, economic status, a whole lot of things, that there's a good mixture of things. I said something about downtown, but at the same time, I think people in this community value the parks and the green spaces, are part of that diversity for our community.
I think education is one. By virtue of having center here, it almost is by default, but I think that's something that people in Danville value, or they should.
Playing off Commissioner Caudell, we got a lot of folks that think well of our high school system too. So young families tend to want to come to where there's good high schools, healthcare, and certainly the higher education.
All right. So I think this sort of leads into a lot of where I'm going next. And so what are some of the strengths?
Well, I had another word on my mind, and that was safety. That this is a place where you can come and live and feel safe in our community. And your question says Boyle County, so I'm not just reflecting on the city of Danville. I'm trying to think about the city of Danville, Junction, Perryville, and all of Boyle County.
Okay.
That there's a safety factor in this community.
Do you think that ties into the small town, or do you think that ties in more to some of the community that we've heard as well?
I think it ties into a whole lot of things, but I think the one thing that I want to tie it into is the fact that we have been fortunate enough to hire qualified, trained people in key important roles in our community.
So I'm going to go a little off script then. So when we think about that community, what are the kind of pillars of the community? What allows the community to be full of pride or very successful and small town and kept up a lot of the history? Is there something you can attribute that to? Is it the school systems that have been brought up?
Yeah, school system, most definitely, because there's 5 or 6 options in town, including center. I would say economic opportunity as well, though. We have had large industry all the way down to we have a mixture of good hometown local commercial venues and restaurants and places.
Okay.
In healthcare, I think Rick mentioned that,
Yeah.
but that's, I think, the largest employer in Bull County, but yeah.
Healthcare?
I'll play off the mayor a little bit, and I think that we have a lot of people, and this is also Commissioner Peak's comment, where we have a lot of pride in the community, but we also have a lot of educated folks that live here, and that's a real advantage to some of us that are less educated. It just helps the whole community along because they have good ideas, they think well out of the box, and we try to listen to that and move forward. And since I'm speaking, I think the other thing that's an advantage to this community is we're a hub, and people recognize that.
Can you expand on that? What are you a hub of?
Yeah, so again, we go back to education, healthcare, restaurants, retail. We have a lot going on here compared to our surrounding counties, and they come here to shop and play and so forth, and we like that, and we continue to be that community.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, that word hub made me think about, they come here for services that are not available in the immediate surrounding counties, but we have lots of folks who come to our community to work every day, as well as we have some who leave our community to work every day. If you look at the statistics, I think you'll find we have more coming to this community to work and seek services that are leaving every day.
How do we feel about that? Do you think it's a good thing? How do we think? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it just how we are?
I think it's a good thing.
Oh, yeah,
actually,
yeah.
Do you care to elaborate?
I don't know, Danville, and I guess most small towns, you sort of just recycle your own money. So it's nice to get an influx of dollars from outside the area. So,
Yes, sir.
And they've decided to live here, but yet work someplace else. To me, it's a compliment. We're concerned about housing in our community now at all different levels, but I think that all sort of plays into that.
So we've heard some of the good things about Danville. That's great. But if you're going to take a second, I think it's fair we look on the opposite side. So what are some of the big challenges facing Danville?
Perception, communication, I think. I think we're trying to work on communication, and I think out there, just like we were at a meeting earlier and someone approached me in another government about Danville and are you taking over Parable? That's a perception that's not true.
Okay.
And I think if we could communicate better, or miscommunication is a problem.
Okay. When you say communication between local governments in terms of in between Borough County? Okay.
Yes,
All?
Bull County, Junction, Parable, and Danville. And then I think we're regional. I think we have to reach out and communicate with others and share what we have going on here.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Your question was about issues and problems, right? So I'd come back to housing as one that's a major concern. And I also want to toss out the illegal use of drugs. Yes, there's the drug issues in our community.
Okay. I'm gonna go back to housing real quick. Is that a housing supply? We don't have enough? Is it we don't have an appropriate diverse mix? We don't have housing for certain income levels?
yep.
All the above?
All the above.
All the above. But I'd like to focus a little bit on, the challenges are that most of the housing is pretty high priced around here. And, so that discourages some people from living here. And that's fine if they want to live in a neighboring county and work here. I don't have a problem with that, but that's one of the things that kind of holds them back. What I do have a problem with is that a lot of retail rental is a little bit too high. And so you have a lot of small businesses that want to be here and they just can't afford to be here. And I don't know how we fix that.
Costs go down as supply goes up, so hopefully we can, encourage more supply on the housing and such.
That's part of what this does, I assume, isn't it? Is it?
It's part of what it could be.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Okay.
hear you, Kevin.
What's that?
I couldn't hear what you said.
I said that's part of what the comp plan would address.
Yes,
Is what
yes.
Jeannie mentioned.
Yes, sir, it absolutely could. And so this is a question I posed in Perryville, and I'm interested to hear the commission's response is, if you could have one idea, one game-changing idea, and I'm going to remove all restrictions in terms of time frame or budget, if there was just one thing that you think that could help transform this community, what would it be?
Gambling boat? No, I'm kidding. Not a gambling boat.
Transform Danville. Okay, I can hear.
Apparently a tough question. You know, we deal with multiple things all the time, and I think that it's hard for us to nail one down.
It is.
Yeah.
Take your time.
Repeat the question again, if I can, if you don't mind.
If there was one project, regardless of budget or time frame, but just one thing that you think would be sort of transformative for Danville, what would it be?
That we would initiate as a government, or just,
It could be anything. I'm not even going to limit it to just your role as government, just anything that you think would benefit the community.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if it's one thing that is new, but I think it's coming, and that's the expansion of the Glass Museum at the Art Center, which is going to be promoted pretty heavily, and so that's going to be somewhat transformative for us. You know, we're known for a lot of things. Brass band brings a lot of people in. History brings a lot of people in. The arts actually does very well, but it flies under the radar a little bit, so this may enhance that somewhat.
Maybe the continued expansion of our parks, because there's it just brings in so many families, youth, which I know we're working on things with the parks right now, but our community here on the outside, people look to come to Danville. So for tournaments, more tournaments, if you had larger fields, I don't know exactly what you would need, but I'm just saying to bring more people in, that, you know.
And you saying parks, you also including trails with that too, aren't you?
Trails,
Okay, yeah,
parks, yes,
okay.
to bring people in
Okay.
for activities.
I'm still going back, I guess, to the housing
Yeah.
part of it. I think
Yeah.
some sort of mixed-use developments, you know, where you go, or even downtown, encourage going up rather than out, which seems to be the trend, and I'm not sure how you do that. You didn't ask me how you do it, but I think that, you know, just more places to live are just really key.
And how do you make the development of new housing at any economic level a win-win for the developer, the potential homeowner, and for the community? To me, that needs to be a win-win for everyone.
Do you care to expand on that?
Yeah, if I can get Cottle and Cottle Construction Company to build some, I call them starter homes, for lack of a better terminology, and they're $250,000 to $300,000 a watt for a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, and a carport. Not a lot of people who are looking to buy a house for the first time can really meet that financial burden. And so to me, how do we get that cost of that house down for the potential buyers? But at the same time, I can't get his construction company to build a house and develop that property if they can't make what I call a decent or respectable living off of the development. And I don't know how to answer that question about respectable and decent, but it's got to be a win-win for lots of people.
Yes, sir. I'd like to follow up on the mixed use, because I think that's, in addition to just the housing component, that does make it interesting, is do you see Danville as I'm going to use the very common live, work, play type area? Is that mixed use and trying to, be on the cutting edge of finding ways for people to live within walking distance to commercial?
Oh, absolutely. Walkability, staying out of your cars is also the trend, as you know. So I think we definitely need to go in that direction.
Yes, sir.
And what about mixed use? I love what Somerset's doing, so not to bring other places in, but, I mean, the big dream idea is having within a utility boundary, a place for industrial development with exactly almost walkable multifamily right next to it. That's just a dream situation, obviously, but, let's put some ideas out there in the comp plan within the utility boundary where we can have more development plus multifamily.
And the good thing about developing this plan is that if we have proper input from lots of folks in our community, then when the plan is finalized, which never happens, but when it's finalized, we have folks who know that these types of things are available in our community for them, and that our community then won't have an uproar when somebody gets ready to develop something in a certain part of town. See, what we've sort of done some of the opposite is that there's a lot sitting there that's zoned whatever, and someone comes in and wants to develop something, and everybody who lives next door to it says, "Oh, no, not in my neighborhood." So we got to start identifying places up front, and at the same time, not lose all of our green space, because that's a valuable asset for this community as well.
I think we discussed it in our strategic plan too. I was
Yeah.
looking at that.
Yeah.
The commission said we would like to have housing for all different, you've just got limited use, especially for seniors that want to downsize, or people that just want to downsize, or people that want to have like a community, like Kevin said. It would be nice to have that here. We've been listed that.
So I'm going to use all that to lead into the next sort of prompt. And so what's the vision of Danville when you think about 20 years in the future? What does Danville look like? Is there flying cars or mixed use developments?
Yeah, we were already supposed to have those. I mean, ideally, everything we just mentioned would be done, I guess.
And my answer to that question doesn't make any sense. I want to have growth in our community, but not too much growth to where we lose our quote-unquote small-town feel. But I still think that walkability to lots of things in this town are very important to people. And there are a few sidewalks and underpasses that we could correct that would make walking to downtown or walking to a lot of places more convenient for our citizens. And how we get those things funded and in place is always the big question. But we do need to grow some.
I would hope that we, down the road, kind of maintain what we have, like the mayor said. But in the terms of cleanliness, we don't have dirty industry, keep our city clean. We're a preferred place to live and travel to Lexington if necessary, that sort of thing. Yeah, just a really good neighborhood community.
Well, you'll never have a community where someone doesn't say there's nothing for us to do. So to me, I just think we've got to find ways to have more community events and activities to keep our citizens engaged at lots of different ages. My best reference is Commissioner Carter said, "Derek, man, 2 years ago, I never heard the word pickleball before." But now he's getting pickleball questions asked to him every day. So you gotta have a variety of activities, a diversified group of activities. And Parks and Rec no longer is just throwing the balls out and let kids play. A whole lot more than just that anymore.
I think it's probably a little bit off topic, but I think we need to embrace the idea of regionalism in our economic development. You know, just because we don't get the bricks and mortar building here doesn't mean that, you know, if Lincoln County gets it, or, excuse me, whoever gets it, it benefits us because people from here will work there. And I think that's a hard concept for some to come to grips with, because we've always been the place you come to, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll give you guys a brief compliment and say that you guys have been very, very thoughtful, I believe, but some of the words that have come out, I think I've heard small town, I've also heard progressive and the need to change. So what are your thoughts on how do we balance that going forward, and what's the appropriate balance for Danville?
Well, that's what we're working on. That's where actually true smart growth comes, but we gotta find places to grow, period, and agree upon, so.
So it's about finding the correct areas and growing appropriately?
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
And still maintaining the beauty, and just what makes our area special. And you can do that, you know, it's possible.
And my philosophy is that I don't want the fiscal court and the city commissions to make those decisions.
Right.
And to me, this process has to get our community engaged and involved, and not everybody's going to get what they desire, what they think should be, but if it's a community-based decision, then I think that's going to guide us in the right direction for a long time. So we got to have lots of people, we got to be able to hear lots of people's voices in this process.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And after the comp plan, I always feel, Josh is here, you know, you can make things beautiful, whether it's a subdivision regs or design guidelines. I've seen beautiful Starbucks, you know, and in the mountains of Sedona. And, you know, there's ways that we can have development with those type of rules to still make it attractive in places, if we want to go there.
Yes, ma'am.
We certainly want to maintain our green as well. You know, the county is beautiful. We concentrate in the city because we're city commissioners, but we certainly talk, when I talk community, I talk the whole county and the city. And, you know, we've talked a lot here, and it's, of course, been pushed to be more regional too. So we respect our neighbors in the neighboring counties, and we want them to do well, but we don't want to lose sight of agriculture, because that's a good thing to have around us as well. Green spaces, parks. You know, I think I'm going with the analogy of, we bought this big piece of property, not we the community, Danville, Boyle County, Millennium Park, and everything should go there. It's too crowded. We don't want to be too crowded. We want to have some spread. And so I think it's the same with the community. We can't all live downtown. It just doesn't work.
Thank you.
And I think as we talk about the future, how we embrace alternative or energy sources in our community, in our neighborhoods, in our industries, and in our own personal homes and vehicles.
Do you think that's something that the community should be pushing for?
That's a personal question, or is
That's a
that?
personal question.
Personally, yes, I think it's something we should push for. But again, it's got to come from without, not from within.
Yes.
It's a little different. We can help set regulations up for it, but it's got to be a community thing.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, I think we got to, if we're concerned about our own survival, we got to be concerned about alternative sources.
And I think you make a great point, Mayor, about making this a community-driven project. So are there any big issues when I say close your eyes and think about the things that the community doesn't want to talk about that probably needs to? that's good for me to be aware of through the planning process. Are there any of those issues hidden in the community?
Well, you know the one, right? We want more services, but we want less taxes, right? That's a biggie. What is it, community I want to talk about? Well, I'll guarantee you this community wants to maintain green space. You don't have to go outside these four walls to find that out.
Yes, sir.
There's no doubt. And also, I think it's very obvious that our community wants to maintain, quote unquote, this small, unique, somebody said hallmark type community. I don't like using the word hallmark because I think about all them movies on television, but there are some pretty places, and this is one of those. Yeah.
We have to stay safe, I believe, but I also think, I mean, keep Danville safe, but then spread it out, somehow spread the growth out. Some people don't want, I think, maybe they don't want things to grow in certain areas of Danville, but you don't want it all in one strip either, you know, and have 20 stoplights to go through to get to every, you know, you want it to spread out. I think you should want it to be sort of like the parks. You don't want one park, you want many parks, people to be able to go access. So other areas of Danville need things too.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Now, you asked if there was anything that may not be visible, things that we knew about that you might run into. Is that-
Yes, sir. Or the big challenges.
I think it's better, but I still think there's sort of an us against them attitude, and it goes, you know, it's like downtown versus the bypass. It's even Boyle County versus Danville. I mean, it's there's a lot of that rivalry that I don't think needs to be here. And hopefully, it is getting better, but
Yeah.
we may run into that as we go along.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
ownership, people, yeah, ownership.
Thank you.
The meeting you conducted the other day down at one of our sister cities, I was just there as a spectator, and you keep talking to me about Danville being a small community, but you heard in that meeting that they're a small community. Danville is the big city, and it just sort of what caught all of our attention.
We're going to get there.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you like to talk about that now? Do you think Danville's a small city? Or do you think it I guess, let's put it this way. When you think of relation to Junction City and Perryville, when we talk about regionalism and all that, do you think Danville is sort of the leader of the big city of Boyle County, or do you think it's a small city in relation to a bigger region in terms of Lexington and Louisville? Is it a delicate balance they're trying to find?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're a small city. I don't think we view ourselves as a big pond. I think some people that come here view us as a big pond, but they're coming from a puddle, and that's the way life
Yeah,
works.
It's relevant. Depends on what you're comparing it to.
Rick didn't say that. Yeah, puddle. Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. How do we maintain, I'll use Kevin Cottle. Cottle always says, Dad, if it's good for Danville, it's good for the county, Perryville, and Junction City. But if it's good for Junction City, it's good for Perryville and Danville and the entire county too. And when we have that mentality working on all corners of the county, we get a lot more things done.
Absolutely.
So throughout this plan, that's why I'm excited about the fact that all government bodies in the county are going to work together on this quote unquote one plan.
Yes, sir.
But I'm excited about that because I think we can get it done, and if we can maintain the integrity of the plan, I'm looking at P&Z out there, look. But it could be a good thing though, really could, yeah. Yeah. But we talk about cooperation. Well, I've been on the council for 12 years, and Kevin Cottle's been on the commission for a lifetime. But it was just 3 or 4 months ago, we sat down in the basement of this building, and we had a meeting, and we invited all the elected officials from the city and county to come to the same place, same time. And it actually happened. And to me, that got me excited, because that was a start of us coming together. And we have a county judge who was advocating the coming together of all of us, and that's great.
Well, I think I'll follow up with what the mayor said, and I'll give the mayor props for a second for actually showing up to the community meeting. I think this is about as good of a time for me to wrap up with this sort of part. So for the next steps with the comprehensive plan, it's officially going to start August 24th. Invite you all to mark your calendars. That's the community kickoff meeting in the showroom. At that meeting, it's going to look less like what this one was and a lot more of me talking because hopefully we have so many people there that it's be tough to conduct group exercise, and this is more informative to give opportunities later on in the process for community input. At that meeting, we're anticipating releasing a schedule of community listening sessions where we will be in Danville at least multiple times, as well as the other cities and areas of the county to listen to people in similar meetings such as this. And also to get more into the weeds, I will be back in front of you guys and hopefully bring a lot more fun tools in terms of maps and things to get a lot more specific than we did today. And I thank you for your input today on the very broad level of, starting to answer the very tough question of what is Danville and defining that. But I'll take a second before I wrap up to give you guys, if there are any questions about the comprehensive plan or the process going forward for you all.
So what I heard is on the 24th, you'll give us a schedule, and that's when we'll find out when Junction is and
Yes, ma'am.
all the other meetings. Okay.
Yes, so I will hopefully be in Junction City for a similar meeting where they're the last one to have this sort of talk, so that one won't be a big community meeting, but there will be community meetings where we'll be in Junction doing this sort of thing with the people. At those meetings, I would invite you all to show up to the Danville, Borough County, Junction City, if you guys want to go there. All the meetings should look pretty similar, but at those, wherever they will be held, I will ask that you guys participate as members and citizens instead of elected officials as well, and I think it'd be very beneficial.
Yeah, your meeting in the other city this past week was to be you and the elected officials talking,
Yes, sir.
but when you got there, there's about, 35
Yes.
citizens there? Mm-hmm. So I really appreciate the way you sort of changed your focus and allowed those folks to have all that input that they had that night.
Yes, sir. I look forward.
And then you still accomplished, I think, with their elected officials, what you're doing with us tonight. So that's why we really didn't know. Should have been for them to do what we're doing at that meeting.
But I think it came together pretty well. But I may be
Yes, sir.
biased.
Yes, I thought so too, yeah. When I left, I felt real good about what you had done because I said, oh my God, but you was able to shift your focus and it was good. You had to shift your focus really because they was ready for some good input.
Yes, sir.
And you received some great input from them.
And I've heard at least from some people in Danville, Borough County that they're very excited to give their input as well. So I look
Good.
forward to that.
Good, good. And we have a few impressive this morning too. I won't look that way, but they moved up to the front. And that's good though. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I agree.
That's why I was impressed with the other city, because I said, wow, that's a good group. Yeah. Very diversified group, too. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. It was Imperial, like the place out there, but it was Imperial, yeah. Yeah, they're city commission. Good. Yeah.
Well, that's all I had for commission. Thank you guys for having me.
All right,
Thank
Thanks for
you.
coming in.
all right.
Good luck with all this.
You want to take some questions from the public?
The public has questions. I
No,
go.
I'm just joking with you. I might get shot if I, no, I'm just joking. No, we're among friends, yeah. You guys have any other questions for Mr. Black?
You know, I've had this kind of, you were talking about things that we don't want to face, and I think we do, but we tend to sweep it under the carpet, and that's our social ills. You know,
expand a
every
little?
community has drug problems, we have drug problems, and we have some people that are not really, they're almost living in poverty, and we just sort of ignore that, and I think we need to think a little harder about that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And you know, we said, we said housing, but we didn't put that slash homelessness beside that. Need to be sure we include that in our conversation too, because that's a big part of what
Yes,
needs
sir.
to be addressed. City manager, city clerk, city engineer, you guys been really quiet this morning. I should say unusually quiet, right? They all looking towards you, Earl. No, I'm just joking.
I wanted to write that last note, and I was trying to find out where to put it real quick, but I don't necessarily have any comments. It was for you guys to comment.
Okay. All right.
And certainly, if you want to talk more, I know we can sit here longer, but I don't know that what you all want to do.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to cut the meeting short. This is your opportunity to brainstorm with each other.
Sure.
I mean, he's tried to ask you some questions to lead you, and you know,
And I would reiterate, this is before we even had the kickoff meeting. And like I said, this is gonna be a long process. And I know these are some tough questions that sometimes you need to think about, you know, and I'd appreciate if you guys went home and if you wake up in the middle of the night so excited that you thought of something new you want to tell me, I'm available at any time through email. And you know, like I said, we're not gonna solve every problem today.
Well, I think the other thing that I gathered from the other meeting is that even though we have these positions, these thoughts right now, as we gather more information from the community, they will confirm our thoughts, or they will help change and mold our thoughts, because it's their plan, not ours.
Yes, sir.
yeah, that's a good point. Definitely continue to reflect on those questions. Like, what does Danville aspire to be? What's our significance? What's our, you know, challenges? You know, continue to dialogue on that in your mind.
And next week, Mayor, we're meeting with the other chief elected officials to really finalize that schedule, and we're going to plan another elected officials retreat. And I think the plan right now, if we can, you know, my ideal scenario would be to meet sort of halfway through the public engagement to give an opportunity to reflect on what we've heard so far, to figure out if we need to, you know, adjust course at that point to really make sure it's led by the public input itself.
Do we know how many public meetings we'll have? I won't be able to be there on August 24th. I'll be out of town. So do you know how many?
I don't think we have a set number right now, but we'll try to have at least a couple in every jurisdiction.
Okay.
And then in addition to the public meetings, we're working on a community survey because we know not everyone can make it to a community meeting. We're going to be at different community events such as the Perryville Turtle Derby, the Danville Borough County football game, to give opportunities for those who can attend and as well.
And the 24th, Donna, will be really a listening session for
Right,
us, so
so
you won't be,
I know.
yeah. It'd be nice for you to be there, because you not being there, you know what happened to you, right? Kevin probably gonna talk about you, so.
Nominate you for something.
That's right. Well, we're good. I think we had a good session. You guys have anything else? You guys have anything else?
No.
Okay, well then,
Thanks,
the
Jim.
chair would like to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?